Hello, everyone, and welcome to Making Leader Moves. I know last week we talked about our last episode being our last episode, but Yomarie and I had an amazing connection. She has a resonating story. And so, you know what? Why not have a bonus episode? So, we are bringing Yomarie in, also known as YoMo, also known as Hair Loss Bonita, in for the bonus episode that we are airing today and right now. Just to give you a synopsis of who Yomarie is, she is a dedicated professional with 20 years of experience in higher education. She has a passion for creating opportunities for students to explore the world, broaden their perspectives, and develop valuable skills for their future careers. In addition, for her work and study abroad, she is also a female hair loss empowerment coach and advocate, committed to helping women who are struggling with hair loss to regain their confidence, inner beauty, and power. Amiga, that's a big cup to fill and one that is definitely necessary, needed. Her journey as a coach began after 17 years of alcohol addiction, during which she hit many rock bottoms and she knew she needed to make a change. 3 years of therapy, inner work, and commitment to her sobriety, celebrating 4 years this past June 28th. Woo woo! Receiving your flowers, girl. She is able to not only heal and transform her own life, but find a passion for helping other women do the same. Now, as someone who has also struggled with hair loss for a decade due to endogenic alopecia, she is dedicated to using her experience and training as a coach to help navigate this challenging journey and emerge stronger, more resilient, and more confident than ever before. Yomarie, thank you, and welcome to Making Leader Moves. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I know I spilled the tea about who you are professionally as well as a bit personally, but I'm really, really excited to deep dive into your journey and your experiences and walk us through that. So starting off with question one, how did you become aware that you had alopecia? And also, how does one get alopecia?
Yeah. Well, first of all, muchísimas gracias for having me on your podcast. It's truly a privilege and an honor to share space with you and your amazing community. Also, amiga, thank you so much for everything that you do to elevate our community. Like I see you and I appreciate you so much. So I wanted to firstly give you your flowers. So muchas gracias.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So, as far as alopecia goes, to be honest, a lot of people don't, exactly know what that means. And
Right.
so, alopecia essentially is a medical term for hair loss, and it can happen in various forms and for different reasons. So, I'm just going to share a few examples. So, there's alopecia areata, and so this is where your hair falls out in small patches. And
Mm.
this type is often linked to autoimmune response, where the body mistakenly attacks its own hair follicles. Then there's androgenic alopecia, which is what I was diagnosed with, and this is common. This type is commonly known as male or female pattern baldness, and it's usually related to genetic and hormonal factors. So there's like diffuse hair thinning all over. I mean, right now you can't tell because I'm wearing a peluca. Just thought I wear her today.
Which looks
Um,
fabulous, by the
Thank you,
way.
Reina. Thank you, thank you. So another form is telogen. So this one is often associated with stress or trauma. So that one also has hair thinning that occurs all over the scalp. And these are just to name a few. There are
Right.
plenty of others. And so each has its own characteristics and reasons for occurring. While some are linked to autoimmune reactions, right?
Mm.
Others may be due to genetic predisposition, hormonal changes, or even certain medical treatments like chemotherapy. It's a common
Mhm.
that not only varies greatly in how it presents itself, but also in how it impacts the individuals both physically and emotionally.
Yes.
So one thing to really note is that alopecia does not discriminate, right? It affects everyone. Like it doesn't matter their age, it doesn't matter their ethnicity. And just to also put things into perspective, I just want to share a couple of stats about
Yes,
hair loss
please.
that I wish I would have known from the beginning, ever since like I was a child, understanding how common hair loss is. So, for example, by age 40, approximately 40% of women will experience visible hair loss. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
Yeah, that's crazy. So another one is 30 million women in the US face female pattern hair loss. That's what I have. So I'm one of 30 million women in the United States. And again, thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about something that we don't talk about, especially in our community.
I was
Um,
going to say, I mean, that's a big number. If you look at the huge metropolitan area, right?
mhm.
That's still because I believe like I forgot what the capacity is, or I'm sorry, like the population is here in Chicago. But like that's a big chunk of women. It's
Mhm.
almost as big as a major city, if not bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is in the United States alone, and this one
Alone.
specific type of alopecia, yeah. Nearly 6.7 million people in the United States and about 160 million worldwide have alopecia areata or have had it or will have it.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's pretty common. And so with this journey for me as a Latina, in our culture, our hair is often a big part of our identity, right? So it symbolizes femininity and beauty in so many ways. I mean, we watch, right, all these like pageants, which I have my own opinions on. Oh, you have the expectation to look a certain way, be a certain way, act a certain way. So you can imagine my surprise and my distress when back in, for me, it started in 2013. Two
Okay.
years after a really challenging time in my life, my divorce, I started noticing that my hair was thinning. And initially, my doctor said that it would be something that, because of the stress of my divorce, that, my hair would grow back, right? Telogen effluvium, it eventually grows back. But you know what? Life had other plans.
Mm,
So as the years went by, my hair kept thinning and thinning and thinning. Fast forward to 2019, it was clear that my hair was not going to grow back. I remember
mhm.
looking at a photo, I think it was like November of 2019, comparing it to a photo that I took around the same time last year and noticing a huge difference. I think like
Right.
sometimes it's different for us when we look at ourselves in the mirror versus looking at a picture. I find that sometimes, at least with my hair loss journey, that it looks worse on a picture. It's just like a big reality check that you can't hide. A photo does not lie.
Yes.
So that was really tough, right? In 2019, I went and I saw another dermatologist, and it's just really rough. Considering just how we as Latinas view our hair. I had to face this reality that really went against everything that I grew up believing about beauty and femininity.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I know.
Challenging it in every way.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was really tough. The journey has come with a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, so many tears. But the one thing that this journey has taught me was that I'm definitely number one, I can do hard things. And also it's truly about redefining beauty standards, right? Like
Mm.
unsubscribing to that BS, because at the end of the day, there's how many billion, 8 billion people on this planet. I believe that that's how many beauty standards exist. There's literally a beauty standard for every person on this planet from now and forever. So redefining what beauty, means to me, that one was very helpful. And then also just alongside my hair loss journey, there was another pivotal aspect of my life that really played a huge role in navigating my hair loss, and it's my sobriety. I know that you mentioned alcohol addiction. I just want to make it clear that's alcohol abuse, which
Oh,
are
my
two
apologies,
different things.
apologies.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
worries.
and this is like a great opportunity, like a great learning opportunity. If you can walk us through the difference, because
Absolutely.
I myself was not aware of the difference, or that
Yeah.
there even was alcohol abuse and then the addiction part, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity. So addiction is when your body like literally craves it, right? You've drank so much for over a period of time that your body is like craving alcohol.
Mm.
And with alcohol abuse is basically that you're abusing alcohol. There's a lot for me, a lot of binge drinking and basically like more than like 4 or 5 drinks a night. That was,
Mhm.
normal for me the days that I drank. So I just want to make sure that I pointed that out. But yeah, my sobriety journey definitely has given me a lot of clarity and strength that I didn't even know I had. It's led me
Mhm.
to the deepest depth of self-love I ever knew imagine, amiga. Like, honestly, sometimes I think about it and I just get so overwhelmed to the point where I just like I want to cry and tears of joy. Every day I'm so thankful for this because I can't even imagine navigating alopecia, hair loss, while not, just still drinking.
Right.
So, yeah, it helped me, sobriety helped me cope with the physical challenge or changes of alopecia. It helped me approach just the situation with a clear mind and a strong spirit. And also just reminded me that every challenge in life is an opportunity for growth and just to learn about ourselves. I've learned so much and I continue to learn about what makes me happy, what makes me just thrive and shine, and through this clarity, through this journey, it led me to create Hair Loss Bonita. Um, so, as you know, it's a brand and a movement that's dedicated to helping women living with hair loss, reclaiming their confidence and igniting that inner chingona, like that inner
I
badass that
love
lives
that.
within us. Yeah. And so that they can thrive in everyday life because for so long, I felt like alopecia took so much from me and I could have taken more if I didn't make that decision to love and accept myself. So now I get to create a
Yeah.
community to help women, especially Latinas and women of color, because when I first started this journey, I did not see other Latinas talking about
Yeah.
this. And I'm thinking, like, I'm one of 30 million. Like, I know I'm not the only Latina that's
Right.
experiencing this. So, representation was one of the reasons. And plus, I like to just be able to use my voice to shine light on something that we don't talk about and we should, because how are we going to break the stigma if we don't talk about it? So
Right.
I know that's kind of like a long answer to your question, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a lot of things to say.
Question one, and all the gems have been dropped. No, just kidding. There's so many more. There's so many more. No, and I just want to, there's a few points that I want to make in that response. One is having the courage and bravery to go through this challenge that challenges your Latina identity in every which way of the word, right? Including the beauty standards, including what the minimum standard of the hair and the beautiful luxurious hair, and doing it sober. It's very easy to numb away our challenges and our pains, or escapism. It's almost like a form of escapism, right? And
Mhm.
it doesn't have to just be alcohol. It can be other vicios. And the fact that you did it, and you did it taking all of that emotion in, um I commend you for that, because not a lot of people would do that. I don't know if I would have been able to do that. So that's a very, like, when you were saying, like, I get overwhelmed and I just want to cry of joy. Girl, you should shit. Like, absolutely,
Thank
you've come
you.
such a far way, and that takes bravery, and that takes courage, and that takes strength, and that's resilience, even amongst that chapter in your life, with resiliency of continuing to do this, without being influenced with different types of escapism and vices. You should be celebrating yourself and all of those wins, and I don't think we look back. Shout out to Angelique from Manifest House for doing this one year. Actually, last year we were closing out chapter 2022 and going into 2023, and she had us do this meditation where you just went inside of yourself and did like this journaling prompt of, like, how far have I come? And I started crying because I didn't realize, like, how in the thick of it I was in January 2022, and then and then that whole year of 2022. So, like, if you were to do something like that, of like, man, how far have I come? Girl, the novel would be beyond tear jerking for sure. But it's also, like you were saying, like, just so rewarding. So I strongly suggest, please, to anyone, like, do that, do like a journal prompt for yourself, how far have I come, whether it's this year, whether it's this season, etc. Um, Going back to your journey, you had mentioned that you had seen a physician and then you switched to physician. How were those visits? Were they challenging? Were they rewarding? were you like, okay, like, donde está la cura? Like, okay, I've got the diagnosis, donde está la cura? And then, you know, a lot of us that have chronic conditions, they're like, here's how you can maintain it, but there's really no hay cura. There is no cure for it. How did you navigate these doctor and these physician visits?
Yeah, so when I went back to see a dermatologist in 2019, I kind of prepared myself for that visit. I
Love
did,
it.
kind of like did a lot of Google, kind of went down the rabbit hole. But for me, it was to sort of prepare myself for the visit and have in mind what are some potential things that the dermatologist would tell me that was my hair loss situation.
Right.
Because in doing my research, I'm like, it all led to androgenic alopecia.
Mhm.
And at that time, I was following some women in the hair loss community, like social media, and just seeing their hair loss, like seeing them look basically like me. Like I'll show you. So of course, I'm wearing the fabulous wig, but one thing about me is that I also not only encourage women, if they want to wear the hair, wear alternative hair. If you want to rock your thinning hair like mine, or your baldness, like do you, everything is absolutely beautiful.
Mhm.
So connecting with other women that had basically their hair like mine was very helpful.
Mhm.
So when I saw the dermatologist, and he basically like did a examination of my scalp, and basically said that it's on what he was seeing hinted at androgenic alopecia. Later on, I was officially diagnosed, like meaning I got a biopsy, and it was an official diagnosis. But
Okay.
when a doctor said that, regardless of me doing my research, I felt like I was sucker punched, to be honest. Like the room just seemed like to close on me. I just no say, like you kind of wanted an answer, but then when you got it, kind of thing, it's like, oh shit, this is
Yeah.
where I'm at. And I just had no idea. Honestly, like I didn't even know how I was gonna live with hair loss, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. So my thoughts like spiraled out of control. I wondered if my partner would still find me attractive. I wondered if my family would be embarrassed to be seen, with me, wondering if my modeling and acting career would end. So
Ooh.
just I felt really helpless.
Right.
I felt alone because no one in my life was experiencing hair loss. Like there's no one that I could really talk to. So for
And
me,
it's not
once I
brought out in social media, again, because of the beauty standards, right? Like, there
yeah,
is no, where do you go? No one talks about it. You don't see it. There's no frame of reference. So, of course, the loss, the feeling of lost is only natural. And then you're like, should I even feel lost? Like, a lo mejor debería de estar agradecida que no es algo, más elevado, right? Like, I should
yeah,
be thankful that it's just this and not something more severe. Like,
yeah.
like we tend to do that to ourselves. It's like, no, 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 no. Go ahead and soak up this L. You're allowed to be in the trenches in this loss and grieve
Mhm.
it, because it's another sense of grief.
Absolutely 100%. And I think that is one of the key things is the whole comparison thing. Not only
Mm,
when it comes to our hair loss journey or our health or whatever, comparison is the thief of joy, right? As that
yes.
famous quote says. So acknowledging what is happening, right, with the diagnosis, whatever it is that one is diagnosed with, and sit with our feelings and know that what
Mm,
we're feeling is valid. Yes, do other people may have it worse? Quizás, but that doesn't take away the fact that suffering is suffering, pain is pain, loss is loss.
mm.
Period. You know? So for me, once I got diagnosed, that diagnosis, like it took me a little bit to share with my partners, mírame a mí, my partner and loved ones. I only have one partner, Tobias. I love you.
We
It's
will
just
be
me.
talking about polygamy in another season. No, just kidding.
Which you know what? There are people that are into that, and that's good on them. I'm all about folks. Just
Yes.
you're adults, consent, absolutely have, but that's not me. Okay, so they like it's not me. So, what I was saying is, it took me a while to share with my partner and my family because of shame. Right? I'm so glad that I had that hair loss community on Instagram that I could turn to,
Mm,
but and just also seeing other women thrive in their hair loss really gave me hope that it could get better for me. So over time,
right.
I felt comfortable enough to to share, and that was really helpful. That was really helpful, and I think that once I did that, it was just the beginning of my hair loss journey healing.
You mentioned that, you it did take a while, and it's true, like I knew when I was diagnosed with my chronic illness, I was able to tell my dad and my brother right away. It took me some time to tell my mother because kind of like when you were talking about like playing things out, like I knew the way that it was going to go. Um and I tried to brace myself for it, no matter how I knew that the outcome was going to be, and it still felt shitty, right? Because it was a dismissal, pretty much. And I've shared my story in my episode. Walk us through one. What was the turning point for you? Was it having all of the support from this women's circle that you were like, okay, I'm brave enough, I'm courageous enough, this is the time? And then walk us through, their reaction, and then, what was played out on their end.
Yeah, so as far as like my family's reaction, it honestly, it was nothing but love and support.
Oh, beautiful.
My partner, my mom, my abuela. Hell, when I told my abuela about it, she's like, "Ay, mija, ponte una peluca y ya." Like just wear a wig and whatever, which I
Yes.
appreciate the sentiment. But for me, even just like sharing that with her, and this was like in the thick of COVID, so it's not like I could really
Mhm.
see them in person. So I had a little, video call with them, and they were so supportive and so loving. And I'm so grateful to have that because love and support is so important in this journey. And so
Mhm.
if you're, if one of your listeners, if you're listening and you don't have the support, reach out. My DMs
Yes.
are always open. Instagram, Hair Loss Bonita. But just find your community, find your people, because that is, for me, what changed in my, that was really like a pivotal change in my hair loss community or hair loss journey, is knowing that I'm not alone, that I can turn
Mhm.
to other women. And I've made friends from all over the world, from like Australia to Canada to India, like all the places. Like if you would have asked me, if you would have told me this is like, let's say back in like, I don't know, like 2013, that
Yes.
I would go through, first of all, the whole like sobriety journey, and then that I would lose about like 70% of my hair, I would say you're crazy. But and also just saying like, you're going to meet so many amazing women, and these experiences are going to make you the strongest version of yourself that's filled with so much
Mm.
self-love and acceptance and confidence. I would be like, you're crazy. Pero sí, like
You're like,
that's
I
what
don't
these
know what Kool-Aid you're
experiences.
drinking. I might want to be part of that Kool-Aid, but like cute story, not for me.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. But I think one of the biggest takeaways that I would like to share here is community. We're
Mm,
often told, like in Western, the Western world, like, que si me es independent, que si esto, que si lo otro. Like, no, that's baloney. That's all BS. Don't believe it.
mm-hmm.
Community is life. And as being like first gen, my family to go to college, the first in my family to go to college, going through my sobriety journey and all these things, what helped me was community, was turning to my loved ones, was turning to other
Yes.
people who were going through what I was going through, because it helped me feel less alone. And having that love and support is what has elevated and what's helped propel me in the right path, the path of healing, the path of self acceptance, and the path of unconditional, radical self love.
Yes, it's, you know what, it's absolutely true. The start, right, when 2020 happened, when the pandemic happened, I lost my job like March 4th. So right before everyone even started, before all of the cities and the states had shut down, and because I had to travel like 6 to 9 months out of the year for my job, I didn't have a sense of community.
Mm,
So when I lost my job, I lost my job title, and here in America, you are your job title. And then two, I lost my paycheck. So, oh my God, I have the same cup. This is so great. We're gonna have
you
a
have
side
it?
note charla about this cup. Yes. I got it
Bendecidos.
gifted. But two, I lost my title, I lost my job, meaning I lost a sense of self. And my
Mm,
depression was so bad. And I didn't realize it's because I didn't even grieve the loss of who I was, but I also had no sense of who the F I was because I never put in the time to realize, because I was so under the hamster wheel. And so it wasn't until I actively started seeking out community, which at that time was all virtual, that I healed at lightning speed. I wouldn't say that I
Mhm.
was like 100%, but all of a sudden, right, I could come out of bed, I can grab a cup of tea, showering, like shit was happening.
Mhm.
That's the kind of shit, right? Like eating, because the like depression hits very differently, and so there's just times where I just couldn't even get out of bed, didn't want to shower, and so I always say that they have helped me excel, not just financially with all the network and connections that you make, but mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And once you have that, on an even keel, everything just starts flowing, like all of a
Mm.
sudden you're good enough mentally so you can start taking on projects or start showcasing yourself, start talking about your talents, and then right, like business opportunities arise as an entrepreneur. But if it wasn't for community, I'd still be stuck
Mm.
where I was 3 years ago. And so when you say community, being they're literally your biggest ally. And finding your own community is a journey, it's a journey. Some folks, and when we say community, and I don't know if you have a different point of view, but for me, when I say community, like I have a community, but there's certain levels even to my community. So just because I share very, very intimate with one or two members, that doesn't mean that I'm going to share at the same wavelength with others. uh,
Claro.
so it's just, you get to pick how much you want to share, how much you want to be intimate, how much vulnerability and trust there is between those people. Because tampoco is give, 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 and they take, take,
Mhm.
take. It has to be two-sided. It's a relationship. It's a relationship.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that it's important for us to always remember that we should be empowered to share or not share at any
Hmm.
given point in time, whether it's to a partner or a community member, lo que sea, that we get to decide how much and if we want to share. So,
Hmm.
because like you said, vulnerability is not about like just spilling our guts, like there has to be a safe container for us to be open, right? And also knowing that we don't have to share everything, right?
Yes.
I think that there should be like some sort of boundary of what is shared, and only right? Only my rule of thumb is, when I'm sharing, whether it's publicly or with someone else in the community, is, and I heard this on a Clubhouse conversation. This was like in 2020 when Clubhouse was a thing, and that is that when we share, a way to know what to share is making sure that you share from a place of your scar, not of your wound, right? To make sure that whatever it is that you're sharing, that you sort of work through it. Ideally, I would say with a therapist. I mean, I'm a huge advocate for therapy. Pero just making sure that, when you share, it's not so much for like validation or for people to
Mm.
give you like solutions or lo que sea, advice. Like, no, you're sharing because you're simply sharing. This is where
Mhm.
you are, or I started here and this is where I'm at now. And your journey, your story doesn't have to have like a perfectly tied bow at the end. You know what I
Of
mean? It could
course,
still
yeah.
be in the works. So but yeah, I think it's important for us to just understand these things, and just knowing that we're not meant to live life alone. We're not
Yes.
meant to navigate anything alone. So turn to your people, and it could start with just connecting with one person. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be here on social media telling everybody and their mamas, your business or whatever.
Yeah.
Just send a DM, reach out to a friend and ask that you need support. They may not be the person to help you, but they might know someone that can.
That's and that's big, that's big within community, is tapping into, other people's network, because like you were saying, they might not have the answers and they might not have the resources and tools, but someone else from their community might. So thank you so much for that tidbit. Um, I want to talk about, because we love talking about reframing here at Making Leader Moves. And so I want to talk about maybe a time where you thought you were quote unquote failing, aka a hiccup, during your journey after finding out that you did have alopecia. So, whether that and as an entrepreneur, right? Whether it's missing a deadline, canceling on friends, canceling on family, even family plans, etc. How are you able to move forward from or how are you able to reframe that, from saying no or putting boundaries? And it's funny because we were just talking about this offline, how I can feel myself being burnt out because I'm saying this is being recorded during December 2023. Like we're in the peak of holiday season, right? Well, it's like
Mhm.
12 days of Christmas at this point.
Really.
So we're getting there. We're getting down to the countdown, and I can just feel myself burning out. And I was talking to you about how I kind of I definitely took on too much, even on a personal level, right? Like saying
Mhm.
yes to certain parties or certain gatherings that I would go to. And now I'm like, Nana, I want to say no. How do I say no?
Exactly like
Even though
that.
this is the time, right? Like, according to capitalism, Christmas is the time to gather. This is the time for love. And I'm just like, I'm loved out. um, so if you want to talk to us about one time where you just, you couldn't do it, you saw it at that time as a failure, but you're realizing, you know what, I'm going to reframe this to a win and I'm going to go ahead and make it work for me.
Yeah. No, I yes to everything that you said. I feel like sometimes we overcommit ourselves, pero um I think adding on our calendars like this is me time so that you don't overbook yourself because I'm like you. I'm like I cannot do too many things porque I get
Mhm.
overwhelmed easily. So
Yeah.
suerte saying no. I think you can do it. I believe in you.
I'll keep you posted.
Okay, awesome. So as far as for me, reframing failures to wins, like you said, I can remember a time like early, well, not even so much like early, but in my hair loss journey, my alopecia journey, I faced a significant challenge related to my career in acting and modeling. So I found
Mm.
myself saying no to opportunities, especially those that required like a close up of my
Okay.
face. So my fear was that people would notice that I was wearing a topper or a wig, like what I was wearing that I took off recently. So I felt just like a deep sense of shame, to be honest with you, about just using alternative hair, helper hair, which held me back from embracing these opportunities fully, sadly. But I think that, the more I thought about it, my perspective shifted dramatically. So I just began to realize that alternative hair is quite common in the acting and modeling world, right? In fact, many celebrities use wigs and hair pieces, not just
Well,
on
I
their
was
roles.
about to say,
Yeah.
so for those of you who don't know this, like it is my escapism. And so I watch Real Housewives, and these Real Housewives, like they are out here with the extensions, with the alternative hair. Like they take glam squads with them when they go on weekend trips just to put on like the full alternative hair look. So
Yeah.
yeah, like it's so crazy how you felt this type of way, and then realizing everyone's doing it. But no, again, it goes back to the no one talks about it.
Right. And I think
Or, but
sometimes
like if
too,
you do it, it's bad. But if you want, like once you become up there, it's accepted almost.
see, and then also just add the hair loss piece, right? I think
Yeah.
there's a difference if, for example, you are wearing alternative hair for fun versus wearing it because you have hair
Mm.
loss, right? So I think that's a caveat to keep in mind. Pero, for me, understanding that celebrities are wearing it, it's acceptable and it's even normal for them. So then why shouldn't I give myself the same permission to have fun with alternative hair? So it
Yeah.
took a while. It took a while for all of that to click in, but when it did, it really felt liberating. It allowed me to embrace obviously my wigs and toppers, not just like really it's is a source of like exciting and creative part of my profession. So
Mhm.
now I'm just slowly but surely, right, just getting even more comfortable about that now. I used to wear toppers here. I'll show you. I don't know if you know what a topper is, but I
No,
like to call it,
please.
mira, this is a topper, which you just like kind of clip on top,
Okay.
así. And so this could be an option for someone who has hair on top. So you just kind of clip it on y mira, right? It just blends with your
Okay.
natural hair, which is
Yeah.
super cool. So now I just, I'm switching things up. I'm using the toppers sometimes, and maybe for other auditions, I wear a wig. So I think the key here is perspective, like you said. The reframe is so important, and just being so kind and giving ourselves grace,
Hmm.
because it's a process, right? We're healing. There's a loss after all. And so what happens when we experience a loss is that we have to grieve. We have to be kind to ourselves and know that, or at least have hope that it's going to get better. And for me, it definitely has. I think that the journey of acceptance has definitely been a win for me, both
Hmm.
personally and professionally. And now with my acting and modeling career, to just fully be in acceptance, right, has
Hmm.
been so freeing.
I love that. I love it. And thank you for walking us through that. Like, I had no idea what a topper was. I
Yeah.
literally just found out right now.
It has some clips. You see, you can clip it
And
on
it
top.
has clips.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. See, so the top, this part goes, yep, got it.
Esto es para el frente, mira. You see? And
Yeah,
it looks like the top of it, it depends. They have different kinds, but this one, is a silk top. So it looks like a real scalp. Isn't that
it does.
crazy?
Yeah.
It's amazing. And so celebrities are wearing this. I'm like, if they're having fun, let me have fun too. Yeah.
I
Se
love that for you.
acabó.
Yes. Like, I love the fact that you said that, like giving myself permission, because I think that
Yes.
we don't give ourselves a lot of permission to do certain things in our
Mhm.
lifetime, right? Whether that's through generational trauma, personal experiences, personal diagnoses that we've been and
Yeah.
journeys that we've been put through, and the challenges that we've been put through. And so being able to, for you to, one, give yourself permission, but also have fun with it. I think that's another thing too that we miss out a lot, especially when you're going through these challenges and these difficult times and these hard times. And then being a grown up, and in society, right? Like, you have to do grown up things,
Yeah.
whatever that means for that. But like, you forget to have fun. And so the fact that you're like, no, 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 we're gonna go ahead and have fun. Vamos a gozar, vamos a divertirnos. And
Yeah.
now I have the space safe enough to do this, and now I have the courage and the bravery to be out here and not only talk about it, but show us who don't have alopecia, right? To be more
Yeah.
understanding and to be able to, like, I'm learning so much from this episode. I'm like, yo, like, I'm ready. I'm like ready to converse with someone, because now I know how to navigate these
Thank
waters better than what
you.
I did even before half hour ago. So I
That
appreciate
makes me
it.
so happy, amiga. And I think that, for your listeners who are not experiencing hair loss, just know that we're not, when you're talking to someone with alopecia, please don't ask them if they have tried XYZ remedy or lo que
Mhm.
sea. Just hold space. I
Yeah.
mean, think about it. You don't think that, like, I have not searched the internet left and right trying to find a solution or do everything to grow my hair, right? Like, we don't fully understand the reason why people are experiencing hair loss. So
Mhm.
just be just let them know, you know what, I see you, I hear you, I love you. How can I support you?
You know
I
what?
can't
That's
imagine how
funny.
this journey is like, how can I support you? Because, someone with hair loss, like, I can't expect you, let's say Jomana, to understand what I'm going through, and understand how, you can show up for me as a friend, right?
Right.
So just being clear on both ends, just having a conversation. Hi, how can I support you? I can't pretend to know what you're feeling or what you're dealing with, but what would be helpful?
I think that's a beautiful that's beautiful knowledge and great gems. I was actually talking about that with my therapist, because I have a friend who's going through like a really difficult time, and one of our mutual friends, right, like came in with the whole, like, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be fine, blah blah blah. And I think in human nature, it's almost like you don't want to think about the bad, you don't want to think about the challenging. So I'm just gonna try to prep you up as much as I can,
Mhm,
and have you
mhm.
see glass half full instead of glass half empty. But that's not what people want to hear half the time. Like, they
Yeah,
want to hear your shit. And so
yeah.
when I saw my friend, I was like, listen, what you're going through sucks. You don't deserve it. And I love you. And that's all
That's
I
so
said.
good.
And
That's
that's all
so
I
good.
said because it's not my place. Like I know that it's going to be a rough road for them. And so who am I to be like glass half full kind of shit?
Mhm.
Like no, girl.
Yeah.
Like it.
Uh,
I love you. I love you. And then
Yes.
and that was it. And that was it because that like people want to be acknowledged. Again, we talked about this earlier of like it's okay for you both to be like this shit sucks. Let's cry it
Mhm.
out and whenever you're ready to talk or let me know how I can support, like that'd be great. So speaking of support, are there any resources and tools that our listeners and or their allies can um, follow and or see or read that have helped you throughout your journey?
Yeah, there's to be honest with you, for me, there hasn't been a lot of, like, resources specifically for, like, Latinas and women of color. I found just sort of, like, general information, and that's why, with Hair Loss Bonita, I it is my mission to create these types of resources so that not only women, but also their allies, their loved ones can use to just help support them in this crazy of a journey. But some of the websites that were really helpful for me is the American Academy of Dermatology. And first of all, of course, see my dermatologist. And I know that's something in the beginning that you mentioned that we're not medical professionals, we're not giving advice. I'm simply sharing my experience. So knowledge is power. So making sure that you see a medical professional, whether it's a dermatologist, a counselor, or someone that can help you in your hair loss journey, and creating that source of support, that committee, right? Of whether again it's a dermatologist, your therapist, your loved ones, the hair loss community. Find your people that will support you. The other one was I don't have alopecia areata per se, but that is another um, source of support that and resources that I found helpful in my journey. They share information on just how to cope with hair loss and things like that. Some podcasts that I really like are Alopecia's Audacity. I just love the title. That's actually by some Canadian fabulous ladies. One of my dear close friend, Crystal Malcolm, and her two friends, Sarah and Lauren. They have a podcast where they have different hosts. They discuss hair loss, different types of hair loss, if they went on a, the people that share, if they did a treatment or how do they navigate the hair loss journey and their just personal experiences. Another really good one is Women's Hair Loss Project. Is hosted by is so insightful. So Y has been living with hair loss for over 20 years. So she is very transparent about what that journey is like. So she does not hold back. Other resources, of course, I'm going to share with you Hair Loss Bonita, chicas. So I offer coaching. There's female hair loss empowerment coaching. I do one-on-one. I'm in the works of creating a group coaching program. Also hold workshops for women dealing with hair loss that discusses like self-care, confidence building, like how to be a chingona with hair loss, practical advice on just managing alopecia. So, and there are a couple of other things that I'm working on. So stay tuned. For that, I would say, make sure that you visit my website, hairlossbonita.com. I'm very active on Instagram, so at hairlossbonita. So it's really easy to follow me. But if you want to make sure that you are up to date with everything that I'm working on, I encourage you to sign up for my newsletter. Trust and believe I will not spam you. Um, one more thing is just online forums and just social media in general. Platforms like Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, right? If you put in hashtag female hair loss, you're going to come across a lot of different resources. But just find those that I would say that are going to like feed positivity into your life. And I'm not saying that because I'm totally against that toxic positivity, but I find that sometimes in the hair loss community, there could be a lot of negativity. Like I've been on Facebook pages where women are just taking pictures of like clumps of hair, and that to me is not really productive. You know what I mean? So finding support and outlets that will share, okay, well, what is a productive way of navigating with hair loss, and just knowing that in the end everyone's journey is different, right? So figuring out what is the best way for you to navigate hair loss is key. Like, what do you need in terms of um, your like physical and emotional health, your people, right? Your community. How are you going to navigate your hair loss? Are you going to undergo treatment? And that's if do you qualify for that, right? Or are you going to turn to alternative hair? There's so many things that you can do. But again, first and foremost, making sure that you consult with a healthcare professional for personalized advice and treatment options is definitely key.
Yomarie, we have come to the end. We have come to the conclusion of your episode. You have dropped so many gems. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Can't wait. Well, I follow you already, so I can't wait to see all of your projects come into fruition for 2024. For all of us that have joined, thank you so much for joining in and tuning in on the bonus episode. Shout out to Moxie, which is the co-working space that I am here out of in Chicago. They gave me this awesome place to shoot, so I appreciate it. Yomarie, obviously you and I are connected, but we only live like an hour and a half away from each other, so I'm putting that shit into fruition too for 2024. Everyone, thank you again so much for listening. Please subscribe to Making Leader Moves at YouTube. We will be coming out with season 4, not quite sure, but I know that it will be based out of technology. So for everyone listening, have a great, great closing of this year, and can't wait for New Year and all of the blessings and fruition that it brings. Bye, everyone.